Tonight, a special edition of Mississippi Insight. I'm here in the state capitol, and in just a few weeks, this building will see another change in leadership, a new face leading the state Senate. Delbert Hosemann is set to take over as Lieutenant Governor, the position that many consider the most powerful in the state. Tonight, I'm sitting down with the Lieutenant Governor-elect to talk about his priorities and how he'll get things done inside these halls. We are here with Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann, who is now Lieutenant Governor-elect Delbert Hosemann, who will take office next month in January. And Secretary, talk to us about getting ready now. You're a little over a month away before you become the next Lieutenant Governor.
It is.
How are you preparing now that you've been elected?
It's pretty hectic.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much, Byron. It's good to see you again, and I want to compliment your station on the debates that you had both for Governor and Lieutenant Governor. I thought they were very well done, by the way. But in the last, I have had meetings with all 52 senators at this point. I met with every single one of them. And we talked about generally what their background was, what committees would they like to be on, what committees did they not want to be on, what their goals were for the session. So I thought those were real interesting. And I'm pretty pleased here, and very pleased actually with our team. I think we've got a lot of just the right mixture of 16 new ones and also some seniority that's coming back. So I was real pleased with that. And then we started immediately on meeting with mental health. As you know, we're under litigation now with mental health, and we have some deadlines in order to address community health centers across Mississippi. MDOT, Child Protection Services, Medicare, all the ones that we spend so much money with. I wanted to see what their needs were, what their prospects are, what they have coming up in the session, what their budget would be like, how we could do things better, issues that had been raised to me during the campaign when I was out all over Mississippi. I wanted to talk about those with them. So it's been a pretty hectic, and we've got a lot more scheduled coming up this week.
So there's been no slowing down since the election?
No. That hadn't happened.
When you take office next month in January and the session begins, what is the first thing that you want to do within the first 90 days?
Not mess up the rules. You know, there are very complex rules that go with this. In fact, we have a rules committee. It's one of the first ones elected by the Senate. There'll be 5 members of that, the President Pro Tem and 4 other members, one from each of the old congressional districts. And so they'll be they'll adopt the rules right off the bat. Actually, Lieutenant Governor Reeves will continue to operate the Senate for the first 3 days. I actually gavel in the House. The Secretary of State gavels in the House 2 days before I get sworn in, so that they can elect their Speaker. And during this period, they adopt these rules and regulations that we're supposed to conduct. And they can be very complimentary. They're a lot more than Robert's Rules of Order. So we've been working on those a little bit too. So the first thing is to get through the first day without messing up any of the motions.
A big part of you have a very powerful position as the Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
A big part is appointing people to committees and everything else. How diverse will that be? Are you looking at putting Democrats and Republicans in certain positions, or how are you going to do that?
Yeah, so we went through the election process. We're now in the governing process. So I'm looking for the best people to fill the best slots. And so you will anticipate that there will be individuals appointed from both parties to chairmanships in the Senate, and that's been the history. Governor Brown and Governor Reeves have both done that, and we would anticipate doing that where we've got good talents in a spot there. You know, we want to use those talents. So that's what part of this conversation has been with everyone. I expect a diverse group in our chairmanship. We have 16 new ones, so we have that leaves us 36 others that are coming back. And of that group, I think we have about 30-something committees. So you'll see pretty much everybody that's coming back will have a position.
There was a lot of talk during the campaign, because it was a very contentious campaign this season, about unity, both bringing it to a one Mississippi, both sides. You've enjoyed a lot of crossover appeal. How do you, now that you'll be Lieutenant Governor, bring it to one Mississippi and have both Democrats and Republicans come together as one Mississippi?
Yeah, I've had numerous conversations across the state of Mississippi with all kinds of political stripes. You know, I think the first thing is to treat everybody with respect. The second, everybody that's standing in front of me, all 52 of them, were elected by more than 50,000 Mississippians. So that gives to me the fact that these are the people that represent 3 million Mississippians. And we need to respect that fact and respect each other.
The big issues during this campaign were infrastructure, health care, and also teacher pay. There are some differences within the party about how to tackle those issues.
Oh, yeah.
How will you deal with those issues when it comes to particularly infrastructure? You've been talking about a gas tax or some form of a gas tax. The governor-elect is totally against that. How do you guys bridge that gap and get that done?
Well, it depends on what you're for and what you're against. Really, when you get to this, last year the legislature they have appropriated about $100 million a year to the counties and the cities. And I was going over that with the speaker just not very long ago, how much each city gets. Like, well, Jackson gets like $4.3 million for its roads and bridges a year to keep up that, and Hinds County will probably get another $600,000 or $700,000 or so. And those funds are going to start flowing from the lottery and the use taxes that have been imposed. And the state is in very good financial situation. About a week ago, we had about 425 bridges that were out. 421 of them are county roads. So where the money needs to be is in the counties. So when I recognize this, and I've discussed this again this morning with supervisors and whatnot about allowing a local option gas tax if that's needed. Some counties would not need that at all. Other counties may have more needs. So this would be on top of everything else. Not a statewide gas tax, and I can understand why people are against that, because I was too. Why am I taxing 12 cents a gallon is what was proposed? Cities and counties get like 23 cents, 23% of that, so they only get 2 or 3 cents out of that. So the people who needed the money most wouldn't be getting it. So it didn't make any sense to me to tax people whose roads and bridges were fine, or tax people with a lot, 12 cents a gallon, when we only needed 2 or 3 cents to fix those. That's all they would get to fix those roads and bridges. So I think that will come up. I think it will come up this year. We want to make sure that the funds are adequately used. So this money is going to the cities and counties right now. I think we need to give them a chance to take a look and see, well, this is not enough, and we need more. And if you need more, and we have 400 bridges, how many got fixed? I like metrics. I like people accountable. Well, we fixed 300. We got 100 left. Or we fixed 100 and we got 300 left. Or whatever. I think you'll see that. This local option gas tax, I trust our supervisors and our local people to make decisions like that. It would be on the ballot. The supervisor would have to have a transportation plan. It would be sunsetted after they fix this road or this bridge. It would go away. So there wouldn't just be a perpetual tax on people. And I trust them to use it for what they say they would use it for, which would be a road or bridges that's out in these various counties. So this would be a supplement to what's already there.
Could you get the House to go along with that, and can you get the governor-elect to agree
well,
with that?
I don't know. We're going to find out. The first thing I want to do is make sure the funds that are already, the $100 million, are being spent well, and we need more than that before I tax anybody or give anybody that kind of ability.
So those three issues are something that you think will be tackled for sure this legislative session?
We will all be discussing those, absolutely, and others. There are other things. As mundane as a driver's license is not working. People are sitting up out front at 6:30 and 7 in the morning in lawn chairs like a rock concert in order to get a driver's license. And we have thousands and tens of thousands of people. It takes 5.5 or 6 hours a day. That's a whole day off of work. And how much does that cost in Mississippi? Tens of millions of dollars of income of people sitting around some driver's license station, which may not even be open on that day. So those things are mundane things that clearly will have to be addressed as well.
And we'll be right back with more from the Secretary of State and the Lieutenant Governor-elect right after this. And welcome back. We are talking to the Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor-elect Delbert Hosemann. Let's talk about you as Secretary of State. You spent several terms as Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. What are people going to remember you by, besides the commercials?
I was going to say probably the commercials, most likely. I was coming off at a grocery store the other day, and the lady came up to me and she said, "Hey Gilbert," she said, "I've been wanting to say that forever," and I think most people will remember that. But going forward, when they flip the history books, they'll remember things like we got voter ID in Mississippi, a most contentious thing. And you asked me about us working together before. When we did that, we had a Democrat-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate here, and we had a Democrat-controlled Department of Justice. So most people said that couldn't be done, but we did it. And by say we, I mean Mississippians did that. Not just me, but I think in the history books they'll look at that, at how Mississippians structured that and what we went through in the process, and we never got sued. Every other state got sued. I hope they'll remember we raised $1 billion for public education. I thought it was critical that we get fair value for our public lands. I also thought, I was with a supervisor in Washington County, and he said, I know you're leasing the 16th section land, but it's gotten more expensive for me and I want to take my son hunting. And I said, well, I have to get fair value for it. And he said, I just wish we could find a place that we could go hunting with my son without that. And so that stuck with me. And during my term, we were instrumental really in negotiating and closing 18,000 acres in Warren and Issaquah counties that will now be owned by the state forever. And we spent no state dollars on that. We raised money from elsewhere. I thought that was important. And in the long run, when people are taking their children or grandchildren fishing or something like that, they'll go on the public lands because it's so hard to get into private lands anymore.
When you first ran for Secretary of State, what was the goal, or what was the motivation to run for Secretary of State?
Well, it wasn't the same one. It wasn't in the brochure, all this part. What I started out was, I was a business lawyer, and it took 2 or 3 weeks to get a charter or a LLC or a corporation, and I just thought we could run that better. And I wanted voter ID. I thought that was important. The elections, I thought that was a bedrock. You know, every part of our government, you know, the judiciary, legislative, and the executive branch all rest, that three-pronged stool, all rest on the ballot box. So I thought it was critical to have the ballot there. And we rewrote all the business laws in Mississippi, and we now are fully automated. We haven't taken any paper since, I think, 2015. We're the most automated Secretary of State in the country. And I did that. I had represented so many small businesses. I tried to set everything up like I would have wanted it if I'd have still been practicing and working with small businesses. And we did Y'all Business, which is the only one like it in the country. We analyzed every county and tell you how much their per capita is, all the census data, how many people buy a bottle of water or have an iPad. It's all on there. Just a tremendous asset to businesses. And I just came with a pro-business bent. And I think by and large we get good marks on those. Mm-hmm.
So you accomplished that and then some as Secretary of State, so you leave it in good hands?
I think so. I think we do. And there were some that came that I never anticipated. Autism. Mm-hmm. Autism has become an epidemic in Mississippi. 1 out of every 59 children is born autistic now. And so when I discovered that and had some personal discovery with that, we started into a process of, we had no coverage, no insurance coverage for autistic children. And we drafted the bill. We got the bill through, and the Autism Board was put at the Secretary of State's office. I don't know that that's normally where it would have gone, but it did, and we were pleased. Our staff worked just tirelessly. We spent no state funds on that. We all just doubled up on our jobs and wrote the regulations did their PR, did all of their stuff for them, met with the boards and whatnot. And we were 50th on insurance for autism and related ones, and we're not that anymore.
Michael Watson will be replacing you come January.
He will.
What is if you had a little bit of advice for him, what would you tell him, or what would be the one message for him as he
rest up. There are several things that are ongoing here. The elections, of course, come up all the time. Cybersecurity is a huge issue. Nobody talks about that much except maybe me and General Boyles have talked about it, and the state auditor have met on it, but we have hundreds of thousands of attempts to get into the statewide election management system every year. And I got a top secret clearance. I have gone over that with him. I have shown him the ones that are trying to break into our system from the various countries all over the world, and pay particular emphasis to that, and you'll see emphasis coming in the legislative area to help him with that. I think our business laws are in good shape. They're ready to go. Our computer system's in good shape and ready to go, so that's more of a maintenance thing. He's asked for the driver's licenses, which are not going as well as people would like. They may end up in his office there. That would be a new branch for people to be licensed there. So I think it's in pretty good shape. There's things you got to pay attention to, like every day.
The DMV coming under the Secretary of State's office, do you think it's a good idea?
We don't know yet. He's given me a proposal on how that would look, and as I mentioned to you, I have another senator that's working on that today, and then we'll be meeting with them as well, with the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. And we've got commercial driver's license and individuals, so those are really bifurcated some. So I want to start the process, and I'm pleased that Secretary-elect Watson has taken on the role of bringing, here's a proposal, here's the way we should do it, and that may end up being the way we do it.
All right. And we'll continue our conversation with this Secretary Hosemann and Governor-elect right after this. And welcome back. We continue our conversation with the Secretary of State and the Governor-elect, Delbert Hosemann. Talk to us a little bit about the state of Mississippi politics. Where are we today when it comes to politics in Mississippi?
It's all Republican. You know, there are 36 members of the Senate are Republicans, a super majority, and the same in the House. All of the statewide elected officials are Republican. And what you find when that occurs in any kind of organization, you'll find Republicans splitting. You know, some will want to do this, others will want to do that. Some will be more or less conservative or middle of the road or whatever. Same way it was when the Democrats had this years ago, had both houses. So you'll see, I think, the normal pull from each other to keep us going down the middle of the road, which is kind of where I stay.
Mm-hmm. Will there be a balancing act? Will people get along, or are you going to find some friction there now that you have kind of different fractions in the
I am very confident. I have great friends in the Senate and the House from being here for 12 years. And we are going to conduct ourselves not like Washington. We're not going to be Washington. We are going to address the people's business. We may agree or disagree on this matter. We'll turn the page and we'll go to the next one. Some of them, they will accept my ideas on it. Others will accept their ideas on it. I don't really have just like it's got to be my idea or something like that. I could care less whether it's a Republican, Democrat, or anything else. So I think you'll see some collegiality there that we need to have. Just because you have the votes doesn't mean that you just become, not responsive to anybody else's input. I intend to be responsive to everyone's, and I think you'll see that. And Speaker Gunn is like that as well. And I think you see, Governor-elect Reeves has been in state government now like about 20 years, I think, or something, 16. I guess he'll be 20 after he's had this. And so he's very knowledgeable about all of this. So I think he will be very respected and very knowledgeable about proposals that we may have.
You have 4 years as the Lieutenant Governor here. What are you hoping to accomplish in the next 4 years?
Well, I want to particularly make sure that the government is right-sized. We haven't looked at the size of our government since 1890. It's time to take a look. I want to make sure that we have career technical. Only 25% of Mississippians get a collegiate degree in the end, so a baccalaureate degree. The other 75% need a meaningful financial job and one they can earn a living on. I want to make sure of that. I want to respect our teachers and have their compensation, and our state employees, other like mental health employees and others, have adequate compensation to stay with us. Those are the things that I'm particularly attuned to. Our infrastructure needs and others we'll get to as we go along. But I'm particularly want to make sure that our citizens, my children and my grandchildren, have a Mississippi that's a little better than it is today when I leave office.
And Lieutenant Governor, is that the end game for you, or we might see something else after that? Hosemann commercials?
I would hope we have more Hosemann commercials because everybody seems to like them. See, I don't have to talk much. You know, the little lady on the bench does all the work, and I just stay out of it. I think this job gives me the ability and the opportunity here to make significant differences in Mississippi, and I intend to do so. You know, if I don't get reelected, I still have to go look at myself in the mirror. So I've got the things that I campaigned on. I intend to be pushing those, and I'm hopeful we'll be successful.
All right, Lieutenant Governor-elect Delbert Hosemann.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Byron.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming.
All right, we'll be right back. Thanks to Delbert Hosemann for joining us. The session starts January 7th. Secretary Hosemann will be inaugurated as Lieutenant Governor on January 9th. And on January 14th, the inauguration of Governor Tate Reeves. Stay with 12 News for coverage of all of this. And thanks for joining us, and make it a good night.